What if I told you the most powerful Dark Lord in Middle-earth's history, Morgoth, faced off against the most mysterious figure in Tolkien's legendarium, Tom Bombadil? Would Middle-earth's first Dark Lord dominate the enigmatic Tom, or would Bombadil's ancient and unknowable power prove stronger? In this battle of wills, we explore a clash between pure evil and an enigma whose true nature has puzzled even the wisest. This is the ultimate what if, Morgoth versus Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil is an enigmatic figure whose origins remain shrouded in mystery. He predates the very creation of Arda and exists in harmony with nature, unburdened by the desire for power. From a physical perspective, Tom Bombadil is described as a jolly, carefree figure with a love for song and nature. He wears a blue coat, yellow boots, and a long brown beard, often seen merrily singing to himself. Despite his whimsical nature, Bombadil commands an undeniable power over the old forest, bending it to his will without force or malice. His vibrant personality, coupled with his immense but subtle power, makes him an enigma within Tolkien's world, where characters often grapple with moral dilemmas and the corruption of power. The historical origins of Tom Bombadil are as elusive as the character himself. Tolkien once referred to Bombadil as a relic of an older world, a being who predates the rise of Sauron and Morgoth. While his exact nature is never confirmed, some speculate that he could be a Maya, like Gandalf or Sauron, who chose to remain detached from the grand conflicts of Middle-earth. Others suggest that Bombadil might be an even more ancient entity, one of the primordial spirits of Arda, that existed before the Valar shaped the world. Tolkien, however, deliberately left Bombadil's origins vague, remarking that some things are meant to remain mysteries in the story. This ambiguity is what continues to fascinate readers and scholars alike. In The Fellowship of the Ring, Tom Bombadil plays a seemingly minor yet symbolically important role. He first appears as a savior to Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin when they are ensnared by Old Man Willow, a sinister entity in the Old Forest. With a song and a few light-hearted words, Bombadil effortlessly commands the malevolent tree to release the hobbits, showcasing his mysterious power. This rescue not only highlights his deep connection with nature, but also introduces him as a figure whose power lies beyond the usual forces of Middle-earth. When Bombadil invites the hobbits into his home, they are treated to a world entirely different from the perils of their journey. His house, shared with Goldberry, the River Daughter, exudes an atmosphere of tranquility, safety, and hospitality. Unlike most of Middle-earth's characters who are caught up in the war against Sauron or their own quests for power, Tom Bombadil is content within the boundaries of his small realm. His demeanor is cheerful and whimsical, often bursting into songs that speak of nature and joy rather than conquest or conflict. Though his role may seem limited, Bombadil's importance becomes clear when viewed in the broader thematic context of the story. He represents a form of existence that is completely outside the traditional struggle for power. When the One Ring is introduced into his presence, Bombadil's reaction is unlike anyone else's in the saga. He handles the ring, even playfully making it disappear, yet remains completely unaffected by its power. For a moment, he defies the fundamental laws that govern the ring's effect on others, showing no sign of temptation, invisibility, or corruption. This remarkable display of indifference sets him apart from all other beings, from the humble hobbits to the greatest of Middle-earth's rulers. In contrast to Gollum, Boromir, or even Frodo, whose encounters with the ring progressively challenge their morality and willpower, Bombadil shows no interest in its power. Gandalf later remarks that Bombadil would not have come in unless he had been summoned to consult, because he wasn't interested in that matter at all. This indifference to the ring, and indeed to the greater battle against Sauron, highlights a striking philosophical difference between Bombadil and the rest of Middle-earth, where figures like Sauron and Morgoth are driven by a lust for control and dominance. Tom exists in harmony with the world, free from any such desires. His power does not come from dominion or manipulation, but from understanding, peace, and a deep connection with nature. Although Tom Bombadil's screen time in the narrative is brief, his presence is pivotal for understanding the broader themes of the story. Bombadil is a counterbalance to the forces of domination that define much of Middle-earth's history. His existence shows that not all power comes from control, and not all beings are interested in the cosmic struggle for mastery that defines the conflicts between Morgoth, Sauron, and the Free Peoples. In many ways, Bombadil's refusal to engage in the larger narrative of power reflects an ideal Tolkien often hints at: the possibility of living free from the burdens of control and ambition. Bombadil's small world of peace, joy, and contentment is a vision of a simpler, purer existence, one that contrasts sharply with the violent, power-hungry world outside his domain. Additionally, his brief interaction with the hobbits serves as a moment of respite from their journey into the dark heart of Middle-earth struggles. The hobbits leave Bombadil's house renewed and somewhat transformed by their encounter, reminded that there are parts of the world untouched by the rising tide of evil. For readers, Bombadil's existence also reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, there is beauty and freedom that cannot be conquered. Tom Bombadil's deep connection to nature is another key part of his identity. He sings to the forest, commands the rivers, and communes with the land in a way no other character does. As Tolkien describes him, he is the master. No one has ever caught old Tom walking in the forest, wading in the water, leaping on the hilltops under light and shadow. This bond with the natural world is profound, yet it raises questions about his true nature. Is he a Maya, a Vala, or something else entirely? Many fans speculate that Bombadil might be a Maya, one of the lesser Ainur, due to his unusual powers. Yet this theory has flaws. Most Maya, like Gandalf and Saruman, are not immune to the One Ring's influence, nor do they display Bombadil's level of detachment from worldly affairs. Some have even argued that Bombadil could be a Vala in disguise, though this too seems unlikely, as the Vala have long left Middle-earth's fate to the Free Peoples. Other theories suggest that Bombadil may be the embodiment of Arda itself, a personification of the earth, nature, and the cycles of life. His existence is not tied to political or spiritual power, but rather to the natural world's ancient rhythms. However, none of these theories fully explain Bombadil's origin or purpose, leaving his true nature shrouded in mystery. Ultimately, Tom Bombadil represents one of the great unresolved questions of Middle-earth. He exists outside the established order, immune to the corrupting influences that define the central conflicts of the world. This may be why Tolkien left Bombadil's nature open to interpretation. He embodies the unknowable and the timeless, offering a reminder that even in a world as intricately designed as Middle-earth, some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. As Gandalf concludes, "And now he is withdrawn into a little land, within bounds that he has set, though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will walk there ever." Morgoth, originally known as Melkor, was once the most powerful and gifted of the Ainur, the primordial spirits created by Eru Ilúvatar before the shaping of the world. As described in the Silmarillion, to Melkor, among the Ainur, had been given the greatest gifts of power and knowledge, and he had a share in all the gifts of his brethren. unlike the other Ainur, who accepted their roles in harmony with Ilúvatar's design, Melkor's ambitions grew far beyond that. His desire to wield the creative power of Ilúvatar, to bring forth life of his own making, led him down a path of pride, rebellion, and ultimately, corruption. Melkor is not only the first Dark Lord, but also the original source of all evil in Middle-earth. His fall from grace and subsequent transformation into Morgoth represents the archetypal tale of light turning into darkness. From his initial position of unparalleled greatness, he becomes the primary antagonist in the early histories of Arda, setting the stage for all subsequent conflicts in Tolkien's legendarium, including the rise of Sauron. Despite his immense gifts, Melkor grew increasingly restless. He sought the flame imperishable, the secret of life itself, which lay only with Eru Ilúvatar. In his pride, Melkor wished to rival Eru by creating life on his own terms. His inability to find the flame and his frustration with being limited by Ilúvatar's will led him down the path of rebellion. Melkor desired creation, but without subordination to a higher power, marking the first seeds of his downfall. The Ainur participated in the music of the Ainur, a divine symphony that would give form to the universe. Melkor, however, introduced discord into the music, seeking to impose his own will over the harmonious creation. While most Ainur harmonized their themes with Ilúvatar's vision, Melkor's rebellious spirit sought to weave chaos into the melody, distorting the beauty of the creation with his own disruptive ideas. In response to Melkor's defiance, Ilúvatar introduced a third and more powerful theme, one that incorporated even Melkor's discordant notes into something more profound and beautiful. This moment symbolized that even Melkor's rebellion could not ultimately overthrow the design of Eru, though it sowed the seeds of division and conflict within the world that would later come into existence. It is here that Melkor's transition toward becoming Morgoth truly begins. His ego refuses to accept that his rebellion was merely part of a greater harmony. Morgoth's influence over the world extended far beyond mere control of territories and beings. He became the corrupter of Arda itself. He tainted the very essence of the world, and his shadow left a lasting stain on both the physical and spiritual realms. The creatures of darkness that terrorize Middle-earth, such as Balrogs, orcs, and dragons, were all twisted by his hand. The Balrogs, once Maiar like Sauron, were seduced by him and turned into fiery demons of destruction. Orcs, originally elves, captured and tortured by Morgoth, became a race of twisted abominations. Dragons, too, were bred under his dominion, embodiments of destruction and greed. The Silmarillion notes, Melkor, the root of all malice, spread his darkness across Middle-earth in the world. It was he who first sowed the seeds of discord and malice. His ability to defile of creatures, and even the land itself, is unmatched. His influence spread to all corners of Middle-earth, creating a legacy of evil that persisted long after his defeat. His fortress of Angband, and later Utumno, became bastions of dread and suffering, where Morgoth crafted his dark creatures and waged war against the free peoples. The philosophical conflict between Morgoth and Tom Bombadil highlights their opposing views on power. Morgoth, the original Dark Lord, embodies the desire for absolute dominion. From his early days as Melkor, he sought to reshape the world through force, believing that power equated to possession, whether over lands, people, or creation itself. In the Silmarillion, it is stated, Melkor had from his beginning the desire for power and the wish to compel all things to his will. This lust for control drove him toward rebellion and the creation of dark beings like orcs and Balrogs. Philosophically, Morgoth and Bombadil occupy opposing ends of the spectrum. Morgoth's pursuit of power reflects a worldview that seeks to dominate and possess, but ultimately leads to ruin. His endless grasp for more strips him of the very essence that made him great. Bombadil, on the other hand, represents the idea that true power lies in the absence of control. He does not strive, does not impose his will, and as a result, remains whole and untouched by the destructive forces that drive Morgoth. This dichotomy between the two characters highlights Tolkien's recurring theme, the corrupting influence of power, and the idea that those who seek it are often destroyed by it. This fundamental opposition highlights the limitations of Morgoth's power. Though Morgoth can corrupt and control those who seek authority, he has no influence over Bombadil, who is beyond such desires. In The Fellowship of the Ring, it is said, he is the master, not by force or domination, but by his innate connection to the world around him. This makes Bombadil untouchable to figures like Morgoth and Sauron, whose power relies on fear and subjugation. Bombadil, immune to both, exists in a reality that Morgoth's ideology cannot touch. Imagining a confrontation between Bombadil and Melkor presents a dramatic contrast in their respective powers and philosophies. Melkor, wielding the full might of his destructive sorcery, could summon dragons and unleash rivers of lava, aiming to overwhelm Bombadil. In response, Bombadil might call forth torrents of rain, counteracting the fiery onslaught, and use his voice to pacify any dragons. The fight could turn surreal, with Bombadil's harmonious essence clashing against Melkor's chaotic force. Tom's ability to negate the effects of the One Ring and his indifference to power could potentially neutralize Melkor's more insidious tactics, such as manipulating shadows. Ultimately, the outcome of such a battle might be less about a physical victory and more about the philosophical implications. In Tolkien's world, the triumph of good over evil is often achieved through the persistence of virtue and the inherent limitations of evil. Even if Tom Bombadil were to be physically overpowered, his essence represents a kind of cosmic resilience that aligns with Tolkien's broader narrative of good prevailing. Bombadil's victory would not necessarily be through direct confrontation, but through embodying a form of resistance that evil cannot fully comprehend or defeat. There is a compelling theory that suggests Tom Bombadil might represent J.R.R. Tolkien himself within the story. Seen through the eyes of a child or an imaginative reader, Bombadil's immunity to the One Ring, his detachment from the great power struggles, and his mysterious origins could symbolize the author's role in guiding the narrative without being part of its conflicts. Bombadil's carefree existence, deep connection to nature, and timeless wisdom mirror aspects of Tolkien's own personality and ideals. He's both a guiding figure for the hobbits and a peaceful paternal force, much like an author who cares for his characters yet cannot follow them on their entire journey. As one theory puts it, Bombadil might be Tolkien's idealized self, someone who observes the unfolding events without being corrupted or tempted by them. Some also interpret Bombadil's role as a metaphor for Tolkien bidding farewell to his characters and readers. Much like a father sending his children into the world, Bombadil shelters and guides Frodo and his companions before letting them go on their perilous journey. Tolkien, too, sent his readers off on an adventure that he could not join, but his care and protection are felt throughout. Some argue that Tom Bombadil represents an embodiment of the original music or the harmony of creation. In Tolkien's cosmology, Melkor's failures are linked to his inability to fully corrupt or dominate the music that governs existence. If Tom is seen as a part of this primordial harmony, then Melkor's attempts to corrupt him would be futile, because Tom inherently represents the song's essence, an enduring force of good that cannot be fully corrupted or overpowered by darkness. However, a more grounded view is that Tom Bombadil would not engage in a direct confrontation with Melkor or any other dark force. As a character who embodies contentment and detachment, Tom's approach to conflict is more about avoidance and maintaining his own peace rather than active resistance. In the Fellowship of the Ring, Tom's actions, such as defeating the Barrow Wight and rescuing the hobbits, show his capacity to protect his domain, but his overall demeanor suggests he would prefer to avoid grand conflicts. Tom's role is more about safeguarding his realm in a manner that aligns with his personal ethos rather than directly challenging dark forces. Ultimately, the key takeaway from this hypothetical scenario is that power, as we traditionally understand it, is not the only force in Middle-earth. Bombadil's strength lies not in overcoming others, but in his ability to exist harmoniously with the world around him. Morgoth, on the other hand, represents the corruption of that harmony, the desire to dominate all things. In the end, perhaps the most powerful thing is not the desire to dominate, but the ability to simply exist in harmony. Bombadil's life is a testament to the idea that true power may lie not in defeating others, but in living freely, unbound by the desire for control. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.